Hi, this is Kamera. My first few minutes with God, day number 293, Matthew chapter 16, Mark chapter 8, Luke chapter 9, verses 18 through 27. Jesus has compassion on this huge crowd who had been hanging out with him for 3 days. They've run out of food. So he takes these 7 loaves of bread, a few small fish. He breaks the bread and he thanks God for it. And then he has his disciples to distribute the bread and the fish. Feeds 4,000 men plus women and children. And then there are leftovers. There are leftovers, 7 large baskets. So after that, Jesus sent the people on their way, and he gets in the boat with his disciples to go to his next destination. Once he's in his next destination, the Pharisees hear that Jesus is there. They confront Jesus. They want to see Jesus do miraculous signs. So Jesus replies that only an evil, adulterous generation would demand a sign. He says he will not give this generation any sign. Then he gets back in his boat and then he heads to the other side of the lake. Jesus warns his disciples to beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The disciples, they started, arguing like, where's the bread? Somebody forgot the bread. Jesus is like, why are you guys arguing? He says, why so little faith? And he reminded them of how he fed the 5,000, the 4,000. He reminded them of the leftovers. Yeah, and then they finally understood that Jesus was talking about the deceptive teachings of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. So once he was to his next destination in Bethsaida, he heals this blind man. So you want to read about how he did that. It was pretty interesting. I'll just say that. So Jesus asked his disciples, who do people say I am? And so you have people saying that he's John the Baptist, Elijah, Jeremiah, or some other prophet. So Jesus asked his disciples, who do you say I am? And so Peter, the voice of the people, he replies, you are the Messiah. And then Jesus tells Peter that he is blessed only because the Father, our Father in heaven, had to reveal that to him. And so he tells Peter that, and Peter is known for, I guess it means the rock. He tells Peter, upon this rock, I will build my church. All the powers of hell will not conquer it. And Jesus says he gives the keys of heaven. He gives the keys of heaven, and whatever you forbid on earth will be forbidden in heaven. Same thing, whatever you permit on earth will be permitted in heaven. And so Jesus tells his disciples that he needs to go to Jerusalem. Yeah. He tells them why he has to go there. He has to suffer. That is when Jesus is going to be persecuted. And yeah, he's going to die and rise again, be risen again in 3 days. And so, of course, Peter gets defensive, the voice of the people. He pulls Jesus to the side and says, oh, no, Jesus, that would not happen. And so Jesus turns to Peter and he says, get away from me, Satan. He says, you are seeing things from a human point of view, not from God's view. Yeah. And then he goes on and tells them, the disciples, of the sacrifice that people have to make when they want to follow him. He also tells them the benefits. For instance, he tells us to take up our cross. He tells us that we need to give up our own life only to save our own life. Isn't that something? The benefits of following him as well. So there you have it, guys. That's day number 293, Matthew chapter 16, Mark 8, and Luke chapter 9, verses 18 through 27. You have a God-filled blessed day.